Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 26 of Daffy's Roundtable. On this episode, we're talking pythons with Billy Hunt of Uwabami Reptiles. Billy's an incredible breeder who has worked with many different types of pythons over the years, and today we're going to talk about his experiences keeping and breeding these beautiful snakes. We're also going to talk about what other cool projects he's currently working on. So, if you want to learn about carpet pythons, or macklot pythons, or green tree pythons, or if you want to learn about carpondros, make sure you stick around. But first, a special thanks to the show sponsor, Exoterra, for making this episode possible. Exoterra makes quality products for our pet reptiles to make them feel at home. Okay, let's talk pythons. Everybody, please help me welcome Billy Hunt of Uwabami Reptiles. Hello, hello.
What's up?
How you doing, Billy? Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, for sure. I'm very excited to do this. I'm excited to talk pythons. I'm excited to talk maybe rats, but mostly pythons.
Talk about it all, man.
We'll talk about it all. Before we dive into like your collection and like everything you're keeping at the moment, I just want to say I did some recent looking around for the episode, trying to find some things to talk about, and I finally stumbled onto your website. It is very, very impressive website. I love how you have so much detail in there on like the specific projects, the blog posts, DIY enclosures, and all that different stuff you have up there. So what was the inspiration behind making the website more than just a retail website?
Well, I wanted a website for a long time, and I kind of shied away from it because I didn't know how to make one. So it was actually Smitty. He, I asked him some questions, and he pointed me in the right direction, and I just took my time with it. It's taken some time to get there. I've kind of been lazy with it recently, as everyone is.
As everyone, yeah.
But it's really cool that someone's actually looking at the blogs and stuff like that. That was something that I wanted to do. It's kind of something that seems like people have gotten away from. When I first got in the hobby, websites that's where you went, so all that information that used to be there isn't there anymore. A lot of websites have gone to the wayside. So I figured I'd at least put that information out there. And if I have projects that people want to know the background of, instead of me always doing a message to them and laying it all out, writing a novel, I can just say, hey, go to the website. It's all there.
No, that's awesome, and we'll definitely get into some of those projects. But yeah, like you mentioned, the way you kind of have it laid out is like you telling the story of your experience. So it's not just another care sheet online. It's more of, okay, this is exactly what worked with me, and all of that. So that's awesome. Okay, sweet. So do you want to maybe? I know it's probably quite a list, but do you want to maybe kind of run us down some of the like the cooler stuff you're currently keeping?
The cooler, it's all cool, man.
Oh, it's all cool. Yeah.
No, I know what you're saying though. Well, obviously, carpet pythons are a big part of my collection. I'm comfortable saying probably 75-80% of what I have is Morelia. So I have most of the subspecies, IJs, jungles, coastals, Brettles. See what else I got. Gotta look around.
Yeah. Gotta count the pages.
Yeah, right. Green trees, all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Glasses, I'm getting big into those. Macklot specifically. Those are really cool. They used to be really popular, like in the 90s and stuff. They were imported a whole bunch, and just like a lot of stuff, with the morph craze of pretty much every species ended up having a morph. They just kind of went to the wayside. But I'm happy I got into them when I did, and they're fun. They're little spitfires, but it keeps things interesting.
That's awesome. And those are the macklots you're still talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a handful of Macs, and then I have one olive python right now that I'm trying to figure out. She likes birds, so it's fun always having to have birds for her.
Yeah.
But I think as far as pythons, that might be it. I could talk about the carpets for the whole rest of the episode.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah. But besides that, I'm getting into Amazon tree boas again. I like arboreal stuff.
Nice.
And just some old world rat stuff. It's kind of my second passion, if you will. Yeah, a lot of the old world stuff, the beauties and radiateds and ganyos, stuff like that. all the
Very,
fast
very
bitey
cool.
stuff.
All the yeah, they're more fun, more of a challenge, right?
Yeah, yeah, it gets the heart pumping.
So all of those different projects you're working on. I know that there's obviously different locales and different areas where carpet pythons comes from, but are like something like I'm just gonna read a few of them out here. Like for
Yep.
example, the striped coastals versus like another coastal, or striped jungles versus like tiger something. Are those
Okay.
different locales or morphs, or are these just line
Okay.
bred? Yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah, so
how do we break
it's
those
a
down?
long it's kind of a long-winded thing. So hang in there
Yeah, no,
with
yeah,
me.
I'm ready for
Uh,
this.
so there's the different subspecies, or at least for now. See how that goes. But we'll stick with coastals for right now.
Sure.
So obviously, anyone that's in the carpets, they've heard of the Jason Balin tigers. You know, those are the
Yes.
ones that are the most popular. People have worked with them the most. Basically, anything that isn't Balin blood comes from those animals that he got years ago from a breeder in Alaska, and there's a whole backstory to it. Anything that isn't from that line, I'm not going to call a tiger. I'm going
Right.
to call either there's a couple different lines that I recognize as far as striped coastals go. And then if they don't fit into those molds, then I'll just call it a striped coastal. If I don't have all the information, striped coastal. So I recognize the Balin tigers, the Petersons, and the Russians, and also the M pens, the Michael Pennell stripe stuff.
And
So
those are
it all
all
falls into there.
all the same species.
Those are all going to be coastals.
Coastals. Okay.
Yeah, those will all be coastals. Um,
Cool.
and then when you get it, it's confusing because there's Darwin tigers. There's a line of IJs that are tigers.
Right.
Uh, there's no tigers that I know of in jungles. There's always striped jungles, but there's so many different lines of of jungles that are out there that that's a feat in itself trying to sort through all that stuff.
Narrow it down. Yeah.
But I I'm trying to keep the lines, not separated, but like let's say I breed a because like I have Russian Balin stuff. I'm sure you saw that picture on the site.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
I know that those animals came from breeding a pure Russian line tiger to a Balin tiger. So whenever I breed those together, I say I have a 50% Russian, 50% Balin, so everyone knows what they're getting. And
Right.
when I've noticed there's different looks to the different lines, as you selectively breed and all that. The Russian stuff does a lot of cool things to patterns and colors that you don't see in the Balin line, you don't see in the Peterson line, you don't see in the M Pen line.
Right.
So that's why I think they're different. There's some people that say, "Hey, a striped carpet's a striped carpet."
And so there are people that are
Right?
mixing all the lines together then.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
and I mean, I'm probably gonna mix them too, but I'm gonna label them as such. I'm
Yes.
not just gonna breed a Balin to a Peterson and then say, "Oh, well, Balins are more popular or more marketable, so I'm just gonna call it a tiger." Do
Sell it
that,
as yeah. Okay.
call it what it is, and then you can't control what people do after they have the animal, but
Right.
that's what I'm gonna do. So.
And how do you keep such good track of all the lines and the genetics and where they came from and how far back they go?
Well, I'm obsessed with this stuff. So it's
Yeah.
I've been in the carpet since '06.
Okay.
So I've had a lot of time to really dig in, and
Do the
luckily I've met
research.
a lot of the people in person, been able to pick their brains that way. And the Morelia community as a whole is very approachable, very down to earth. Just about everybody will tell you anything that you want to know. So
Yeah.
it's really just a matter of if you want to go get the information or not. So luckily, I've been able to put myself in a position where I could just shoot any breeder a message and they'll put it all out there for me. So
That's awesome. And then okay, so you're doing oh, sorry. So you're doing all these lines and you're focusing on all these projects. How do you how do you avoid problems from crossbreeding down the line?
uh well, I mean, they're still the same subspecies. It's not so much I mean, if you breed the lines together, it's in a sense outcrossing,
Okay.
you know. So the only one I'm concerned about eventually give me problems is the Peterson stuff. Because as far as I know, only me and Eric Burke have pure Peterson line stuff.
Other ones out there. Okay.
Uh, yeah, they all. So that line came from a breeder, Shea Peterson, uh, back in the day. He had his own line that he got. He got a pair of striped coastals from Dan O'Leary in the early 2000s and bred those until he got the look that I have now. And he just ended up getting out of it. And I was fortunate enough to get a pair. I didn't realize how,
Rare
big
they
that
were.
would be.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford Balin tigers at the time, so it's kind of like the discount tiger for me. But little did I know that ended up being like the biggest project that I have, in my mind.
Awesome.
They're not super flashy or anything, but they're, I really like the looks to them.
Still a beautiful snake. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I only have 4 of them.
Okay.
So, and I have the dad to a trio that I have. So everything's related. So eventually, that's gonna be a thing. But then, you outcross, and I tried to ask multiple people, like, once you outcross and then come back, like, then you get your 50% Peterson stuff, 75, 88, 93, like all the percentages stuff, the nerdy stuff of it.
Yeah.
At what point do you call it a Peterson again? Nobody has a straight answer for me. And that's why I want to put exactly what it is. So if I
Yeah.
outcross, first generation will be 50% Peterson, whatever the other is. And then, 75%, 88%. So that people know what they're getting line wise.
Interesting. So you just keep going back until it's a higher percentage of Peterson.
Yeah.
And then when you outcross, are you looking for an animal that looks relatively similar to a Peterson, so that you're not going too far away from the line, or is
So
that
I'm
what I feel?
actually really fortunate, and I lucked into a lot of this stuff
Okay.
somehow. And I actually have a 50% Peterson, 50% Balin that looks just like a Peterson, more so than a Balin. And that snake will eventually be used to outcross, and I'll basically skip that first generation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. 'Cause
So
it's already at 50%. Yeah.
yeah, so I'll breed that to a 100% Peterson. I'll end up with 75% Petersons in that clutch. So, and it'll have Balin blood in it, so I'll definitely have great stripes in that too. And so that's the ultimate goal. I
Is
like the
it
stripe stuff. So
more stripes? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, all the stripes.
All the stripes. Okay, that's sweet. That's awesome. Okay, and then so why don't we just run through some of the projects then?
Yeah.
So you're working with with those ones on the coastal. What about so you have one for here, for example, the farm bred pop one. So you just basically get a bunch of fresh blood, and now like how does a project for a farm bred project work?
So I got a group of 10 farm bred IJs. I want to say 6, 7 years ago now.
Okay.
Uh, and it was one of the bigger, it was the first big purchase I made. Like, hey, I'm going to get a group, and then I'll pick which ones I want, sell the other ones, all that.
You
I
kept
ended
all
up
10.
keeping most of them for a while.
Yeah.
I think I'm only down to a couple of them now. But
Okay.
basically, the farm bred stuff is the snake farmers in Indo and Malaysia and all that. Uh, they figured out with some species, especially the python species that can incubate their own eggs. Uh, if you catch these females at the right time of year, they'll be gravid, they'll lay for you, they'll incubate the eggs, then you can harvest the babies, you can release the female, and then they ship over a whole bunch of babies. I just ended up getting a group of those guys. So basically, they are fresh blood.
Fresh blood. Yeah. Yeah.
So I bred a pair 2 years ago together and kept a pair. So those are F1 animals, and they're going to be unrelated to anything else that's out there right now. So I could potentially, selectively breed if I wanted to do my own line thing or something like that. I could, but
Yeah.
um, IJs have so much potential and so many different color palettes and patterns, and
And there's no like
just
distinct lines yet.
there's a couple.
There's a
Yeah,
couple.
there's
Okay.
definitely some. A lot more old school stuff. So when the morph boom happened with carpets, Like when
Right.
I got into it, it was granites, tigers, and jags. That's all that was out there, and red coastals. And then once Xanax hit, zebras, uh, caramels, hypos, all that kind of stuff, everybody started focusing on those,
Yeah.
and some of the stuff kind of went to the wayside. But luckily, some guys kept those lines going, or kept those animals back. And just look at how much work they've done with jungles.
Right.
Like if you look at a wild jungle, it
It
looks
looks
nothing
nothing.
like
Yeah.
nothing like this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Doesn't
Yeah.
look like that.
Yeah.
And jungles only have they have the black, yellow, or cream, gold, or like Nick's done great stuff with the ivory animals. Those are incredible. Uh, but there's only those 2, 3 color palettes, and they're mostly banded. A lot of guys don't really focus on the stripes with jungles.
Yeah.
IJs or pop wins, whatever
Yeah.
whatever camp you're in. Uh, they've got like 4 or 5, 6 different color palettes that you could go. They have every pattern imaginable. Uh, like I've seen some that they rival a trophy jungle any day.
That's
You can
awesome.
get lavenders, you can get golds, you can get melanistic ones, orange ones. It's insane. So I'm really happy to be a part of the next wave that hopefully does some justice with those guys, because
Yeah.
they're really good carpets. They got
Did
uh,
you
earth tone stuff, and yeah, it's
did
gonna
you
be
get
cool.
cool stuff from the pair you already paired up?
Yeah, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
They're looking good. So I bred a lavender-ish female. So they fire up like like how crested geckos,
Yeah.
they'll
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like fire up, fire down.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff from that area of the world seems to do that. They'll fire up, fire down. IJs are no
Interesting.
exception.
Okay.
So late night, early morning, they'll look their absolute best. So like if I come in here at 3 in the morning and open a cage, I'll be like, man, that's where'd that snake come from?
Whereas, yeah.
You know.
Okay.
So the female I use for that, she looks lavender, like almost purple when she's fired up. And I bred a gold male to her because that's just what I had. And I just wanted some F1 animals to start with that.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
one of them is, I think the female's going more towards the lavender side, and then the male's going more towards the gold side. So it's cool to see that they're two different looks, just the
Yeah.
variability that Morelia has in general. That's part of the fun too,
Yeah.
doing it. So
What is the difference between a jack pondro and a carpondro?
so a jag pondro is just a carpondro that's expressing the jaguar gene
Jaguar.
from
Okay.
the carpet python.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, that's it. It's just basically if you bred a jag carpet to a regular carpet, half will come out as jags, half will come out as normals. It's
Okay.
the same exact concept. It's just instead of a normal carpet, I bred it to a green tree.
Very true. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome. So in it you say that you're planning to breed the babies back to green trees and see if they're fertile. Have you had a chance to do any of that yet?
Not
Like
yet.
still growing?
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I produced those back in 2018. So
Okay.
theoretically, they should be big enough to breed. Little backstory on that whole project.
Okay.
I bred green trees back in 2016, my first season. I got lucky and produced green trees and did maternal incubation, all that. Got 17 babies. I was on top of the world. Nobody could tell me anything. Well, I still haven't, had the trial and errors of starting babies yet, and I couldn't get any of them to eat, and they all ended up rolling on me.
Okay.
So I actually, kind of 2 years later, I was like, well, I don't want to do the green tree again because that was, really bad for my psyche. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh, why don't I throw this carpet in there? And the female that I use, she's really mean, the female
Okay.
green tree.
Yeah.
And I had them in for like 3 days, and I never saw them by each other at all. And it's like, all right, well, you know, I tried.
Yeah. It
I
didn't
tried
work.
for a couple of days, waited a week, and then threw them back in for like another 3 days, and they perched together, but nothing, nothing solid. Well, like a month later, she sheds, and she's
Yeah.
refusing food, and I'm like, okay, well,
Okay.
see what happens. And next thing I know, 3, 4 weeks later, she's on a clutch of eggs. I'm
That's
like, oh,
awesome.
all right, and it ended up working out. Anyway, I say that whole long story because I
Did you
couldn't get the. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, did you pull the eggs or did you leave them as
Oh,
like
I
you
pulled
said
them.
her? Yeah, you pulled them.
Absolutely, I pulled
Yeah,
them.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the babies hatch. I'm in awe because I didn't think they were gonna hatch, and then I'm having flashbacks of these green tree babies not eating. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be the same thing, and I end up putting a fuzzy in front of one, and it just destroyed it. And I was like, thank God.
Amazing.
And
Okay.
yeah, so I've always heard different things about them. That specific project, either love it or hate it, and
Yeah.
you'll hear a lot of the breeders that hate it. Those they kind of say things that aren't substantiated, in my opinion. They'll say like, "Oh, they're all sterile, they're all this," but there's 75% carpondros out there. There's a lot of hybrid stuff.
Yeah.
But they kind of portray it as a dead end project. I think there's a more uh, compatibility issue to it. You have to get two animals that are compatible, obviously, to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's why I want to raise these up and breed them together and kind of do my own trial breedings with them. 'Cause I don't want to just give my hypothesis of it. I want to, actually say, hey, here's what
Prove
I
it.
think,
Yeah.
and here's why, because here's all the data from the breedings I've done.
Yeah.
Uh, but I raised them like green trees. I was kind of dainty with how I was feeding them because if you overfeed green trees, you have issues and prolapses and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, these things act like carpets. So
It needed more eating.
yeah, so they're a little, the male he's good to go, but the females probably have another year or so to put
Okay.
some weight on and then off to it. I put a rule on myself. So I don't want anything more than 50% carpet blood. So,
Okay.
because the whole point of a hybrid project in my mind is to have a animal that you can definitely tell is different from,
Yeah.
the mother or father species. And once you get, when you breed a carpondro back to a carpet, they look like gamma jags. Like they kind of have that look to them, or they look like
Yeah.
a bright carpet. Um,
Yeah. So
and
you're
that
like,
kind of
there's no point.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say there's no point 'cause there's guys doing some cool stuff, breeding them back to what was it, Adam Hoolander? He just produced, I think, gamma carpondros. So he bred a carpondro to a gamma jag,
Okay.
and those babies are looking awesome. That's awesome. Good for him. I personally, I want to go more the green tree route
Yeah.
because the higher percentage green tree stuff, that's when you start getting blue animals and they just look real funky. And then adding the jag gene into that, uh, that's just my preference. I'm not, if anyone else doing the project, goes the other way, that's fine too.
No. Yeah. That
Uh,
makes sense.
but yeah, I'm really excited to see where it goes. I would like to add some more carpet mutations into it at some point if I
Just to
could.
get more
Like,
patterning in there.
yeah, do like maybe a zebra or a granite or a caramel or something like that. Like
Yeah.
possibilities are endless. There's a lot of untapped potential with that, and the fact that it's a hybrid project, it's harder to get the animals to breed because of the compatibility issue. That's something that I think. Uh, it's not something that anyone can just crank out in a season. Like I've tried producing more every season since 2018,
And you
and
haven't been able to.
I haven't. So,
Wow. Okay.
uh, it's not just you put them together and they produce, like carpets or green trees would do. So, it's a more challenging one too. So that's the fun part as well.
Do you think it's compatibility to do with like the individual animals? So like just that individual didn't work out with, or more of like yeah, like a genetic compatibility.
I think it's more of an individual thing because
Individual
you'll
thing.
hear that in uh, even animals that are the same species.
Yeah.
You hear that with white lips and ring
Lychees too.
pythons and stuff like that. Yeah, scrubs. Those kind of things. What I don't think it's way out of the realm to say that's happening here with trying to breed two different
Two
species
different
together.
species. Yeah.
So
No, that yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's
yeah,
that's awesome. Well, good luck with that. I'm looking forward to see. Hopefully it works out because
yeah, appreciate it, man. I
that's
hope so too.
yeah, no, for sure. Uh, awesome. Okay, and then well, maybe let's yeah, maybe before we go into the macklots, because I know absolutely nothing about macklots, so maybe let's talk about green trees for a second.
Okay.
Um, Any cool projects on that side?
So at the moment, I only have 5 green trees. Uh, I have 2 that I really don't know the background. I know what they were sold to me as, but
You don't believe it?
yeah, I mean, there's not an ugly green tree, you know, like they're all pretty awesome.
That's true. Yeah.
Uh, but besides those 2, I have a pair of lyrae locales, which I believe the female is the one that's pictured there. She's got a lot of blue on her.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That
yeah,
that is a
yeah,
beautiful snake.
she actually just laid a clutch for me. So I'm hoping
Sweet.
those babies go the distance. That one's for Billy.
That's
That,
yeah.
yeah, those are
Okay.
staying.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I have those, and then I have a female sorong that's really nice that I'm raising up. Um, I would like to get in an ideal world, obviously with more unlimited space and money and all that. Uh, I would like to get little groups of all the different locales
Yeah.
and produce just locale animals.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
uh, I have a group of arus or sorongs, lares, biaks, maniquaries, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then also breed them together, and I mean that's how all the high-end designer stuff was made. It seems like nobody's really taken the ball and ran with it. They just kind of stick with what was made, decades ago and try to build on that.
Okay.
But we still, with stuff getting imported, still we have prime opportunity to, make our
Create
own
some new
stuff.
stuff. Yeah.
And you could, I mean, yeah, it's going to take a while, but I plan on being in the hobby as long as possible. And I
Yeah.
don't see any time in the foreseeable future that I won't be doing this. So if I get into something that's going to take me 20 years, I'm going to be, you know,
Very
cleaning
happy in
tubs
20
and
years.
doing that. Yeah, I'm still going to be cleaning tubs and throwing rats at snakes. Why not, do something cool with it too? So
So,
that's
yeah.
my thought on it.
No, 100%. Are
But,
you aiming for more of the blues? The way the blues are on this female, maybe I'll just share the screen actually, because that's probably the easier way to do it. But it's almost like, where did you? There we go. It's almost like a line.
mhm.
Like it's going like their exact pattern. So is that kind of trying to get more blues on them, more of a pattern kind of based snake? Well, do you have an end goal, or you just kind of see what comes out of them?
Uh, at this point, since it's the first time that I'm breeding them together, I don't have. I mean, obviously, I would love to produce more like her or with more blue, uh, but I'm just going to be happy with whatever. I kind of want to see what I produce and see how they turn out, and then I'll kind of go from there. Uh,
Yeah,
and then that'll be my group of lyres that I could, hone in on, and I can get that look figured out. 'Cause if I can get consistently that look or more blue, I mean, you can't beat that,
no, you cannot. Yeah,
especially with
no,
a
I
pure
agree.
locale animal.
Yeah,
That's hard to beat.
that's a beautiful snake. Are they this blue in the wild?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that animal was actually that was a Bushmaster animal,
Okay.
and when I got that picture was a couple weeks after I got her, so that's how she came in, was like
Okay.
that. So,
Goes like that. That is
but
awesome.
yeah, just more of the Morelia variability, thing. They're such variable animals, from carpets to green trees to even Brettles. They're a lot more variable than people realize once you start really looking into them.
Yeah. Awesome. You don't have a Brettles you don't have a Brettles post up there. Are you working on any Brettles projects or?
I am. So I
Okay.
am really good friends with Casey Cannon, and
Cool.
the I call him the Brettle guy of the East, you know, or
Yeah.
Southeast, and so I've been able to get some stuff from him. I actually have 6. Yeah, I have 6 Brettles. I actually have one that could be laying any day right now. So
Awesome. Fingers
hopefully
crossed.
that goes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hypo to a hypo stonewash. So
Okay.
we'll see what
Interesting to
happens.
see. Yeah. I might need to look up a picture of that.
Yeah, I haven't put bro. There's a lot of stuff I haven't put on the site yet. Um, so I was out for a little bit and I had a lot of time on my hands, and That was when I was able to crank out a lot of the website stuff. And since then, I've been busy, and I need
Oh no,
to
yeah,
get
yeah.
back on it. Yeah.
Oh, so I just meant an actual, like a picture of the actual snake that you just mentioned, like just a general one. But
Oh, God.
I,
Yeah, I don't have any pearls on there.
yeah, awesome. Okay, so the macklots, I have never really looked into them. I don't know like much about them. So, how are they in like how are they temperament wise and like, or maybe let's go care wise compared to um like carpets.
So I keep my max exactly like my carpets. I don't do anything different. Uh, there's some guys that have had problems with breeding them because I think they try to do a little too much. Uh,
In terms of like
kind of,
over babying them.
yeah, like they try to hone in different things too much. Like guys that there's some guys that when they get into green trees, they think green trees are very delicate, and
Yes.
you have to have it to the nearest tenth of a degree, and the humidity has to be exact 100% of the time, and the snakes will survive, obviously, because I mean, these animals are pretty hardy for the most part, but as far as trying to produce and all that, you'll have issues because there has to be natural fluctuations and stuff. Like
Mhm.
I bred these green trees uh, this year, and I have them in my snake room at ambient. I don't run heat on them or anything
Okay.
because I think we keep a lot of our stuff a little too warm as a hobby, whole. And that idea is starting to, get out there more and more, and people are starting to keep stuff a little cooler and even hotspots cooler and stuff. We're understanding microclimates more and all
Okay.
that. So I was able to apply that to the macklots as well. And I've produced, I produced them last year, and then I had a clutch this year, but the babies ended up dying in the egg. I don't know what happened. I had a bad breeding year this year.
Yeah.
But it's
I know a
part of
few
it.
people actually. I also had a bad reading year, and I know a few people who did as well. So I think maybe it's just this,
It's
it's a
yeah,
bad
it's just
year.
one of those things. It's one
Yeah.
of those things, man. It's the ups and downs. That's what keeps the fly by night guys to the guys that are going to stick around for a while. You got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
definitely.
But yeah. So anyway, I keep the max the same way as the carpets. I don't do anything special. As far as temperaments, as babies, they're extremely defensive, like ridiculously defensive.
Okay, like
Uh,
more than like carpets
yes. Oh
and
yeah.
chondros. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely. Um,
awesome.
it's usually about for the first year and a half, about till they hit 4 foot, honestly. And then, of course, if you work with them, that'll help too. But it seems like the switch turns off. The same with carpets. Carpets, once they hit about yearling size, if they're defensive, they'll once they get big enough to think, okay, everything can't eat me,
They
I'm
calm
good.
down. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like it just takes the max a little bit longer to get that confidence. But then once they do, I mean, they're super easy going as long as there's not food around. They're very food oriented. Uh, Liasis, like as a genus, are like that. They when you feed them, they'll grab the rat and they'll put 4 or 5 wraps around like a king snake will.
Okay.
Like they're all about it. The more
Yeah,
food you can give them, the better.
the better. Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But outside of stripes, I really like pixelated random patterns. So
Okay.
they kind of have a granite carpet look to them. So that was kind of what drew me to them. And then I have a handful, and they're all different. The variability in those guys too, and the iridescence,
And
and
the color on them
uh,
too. The almost
yeah,
the like that olivey. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll have some that have that olive cover color. They'll be kind of lighter with darker freckles. Freckled pythons are another name for them that they've been
Okay.
called.
Interesting.
Uh, then you'll have some that are dark with the olive freckles on it. Like pretty much the
The
mirror
opposite.
image of what it is. Yeah,
That is very cool.
uh, yeah. So there's a lot of I don't know, I see everything from a carpet mindset. So I think everything has the potential for selective breeding, and I see that without seeing different. I'm not like, oh, it's a new morph. Like, oh no, I can selectively breed and uh, eventually get to that point where that line of animals will be that look that I like. Um,
And
so
you
that's
think
just
it is
another
possible
thing.
with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think selective breeding is possible with everything.
Everything.
Uh, I mean, basically look at any line of animal that is out there, whether it be a python, colubrid, boa, gecko, monitor, whatever. It usually starts with one animal that looked that way. And then they bred it to, if they were lucky enough to have two that look the same, they'll breed those.
Put
But
'em
most of the
together.
time,
Yeah.
you have one. You breed it to a regular one, and then you just keep holding back the ones that you like, and that's selective breeding.
Yeah.
Just keep recycling that thing until you get what you want. Uh, like look at a lot of the North American colubrid stuff. Uh, Cow Kings come to mind.
Bookings.
Pyros
Yeah.
come to mind.
Hmm.
That's all selective breeding stuff. That's not they found a new morph. That's they just took the time to produce these animals to get the look that they want. So it's just putting in the time, and it takes longer with pythons. And everybody doesn't want a python that's going to bite you for the first year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
And I get that. I get that. But
It's part of the fun.
yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, and then so maybe like moving a little bit away from the snakes for a second to you have another post on there about the diet.
Yeah.
Um, and so in this, also a very interesting blog post, by the way. And you mentioned that like some alternatives to using rats and mice, but then you
Mhm.
also mentioned that nothing beats feeding a whole prey item.
Yes.
So why do you think variety is important? And then also why do you think that like nothing beats feeding the whole prey item?
So, um, obviously, I'll do the easy one first. Obviously,
Yes.
a whole a whole prey item is going to have everything that the animal is going to need. You're going to have your skeletal system. You're going to have all your different organs, and you have the blood, and just everything that all those elements are comprised of. All goes into being that complete meal. You know, so
Right.
you're not going to beat that with pieces of anything. Uh, so like that's why I start my babies on fuzzy or hopper mice instead of rats. Uh, I personally don't care if I have a mouser. They're eating. I'm happy.
Anything. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if an animal is a hatchling and I'm giving it a hopper mouse, in my mind that hopper mouse is probably what, almost 2-3 weeks old. So it's already starting to mature its skeletal system, its organs are starting to get comprised of everything, as opposed to that pinky, pinky rat or pinky mouse or whatever, that's basically all cartilage and there's not much going on there. It's very, all everything and all its internal stuff is all brand new. It hasn't really matured yet. So I think in that post too, I put how you have the day old chicks, but
Yes.
then I put it next to a week old quail. Now it's the same size, but I prefer the quail for that same reason. They have that week or so of maturing everything, getting more food in them. It's not just straight out of the egg, and they can't even walk yet like a day old chick would be.
It's almost like
Uh,
gut loading.
exactly,
Yeah.
same
Okay.
exact idea.
Interesting.
Um, so then, I guess the harder question
Yes.
is, so I've always had this fascination with, like, we can feed more than European lab mice and
Nice.
rodents,
Yeah. Yeah.
and when you start, like, I'm a info nerd, so I read a lot of natural history stuff, and uh, even earlier today, I was looking up the British Herpetological Journal, and they have journals that they put out every quarter that these biologists and stuff, they go out and do field research, and you can get so much information from that.
Can
Uh,
anybody get their hands on that?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
I'll have to look that
yeah.
up.
Reach out to me afterwards. I'll send
Uh,
you links and stuff. And yeah,
yeah.
I got you.
That's sweet. Okay. Sweet. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got you. So you'll see they'll have, depending on what the study is, when you start going into feeding stuff, you'll see that these animals are eating tons of different prey items. Now, yeah, there's going to be certain things that they eat more towards, depending on what stage of life they're in. uh,
Right.
Most baby snakes, they're not eating baby rodents. They're going to be eating, frogs, birds,
Little lizards.
eggs,
Yeah.
a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So, especially with all the different things we have at our disposal now, there's no reason not to. Like you can, like I get all my quail and stuff from Rodent Pro. It's just easier that way. Um, and as far as the like incomplete stuff, like I get frog legs from the Asian market. I'll get chicken necks, turkey necks. Um, what else do I have? Chicken hearts. Uh, Actually, I like the chicken hearts a lot because what I'll do, especially with baby colubrids, they can only eat uh, mouse pinks, right?
Yeah.
Just because of size. Well, if you follow that with, you take a chicken heart and you cut it to where it's the right size, like a strip or something. They're
Yeah.
getting that pinky mouse, but then you give them that. It's just a big hunk of meat. They're getting a straight, protein hit with that too. That's my mindset on it. So they're getting more out of that meal than just that little, you know, tub of goo that a pinky is.
You're giving to them after each other?
You can, or I'll feed uh, a pinky and then a couple days later do
Eat that.
that. I'll switch
Okay.
it up. There's
Yeah.
no, I don't have a set schedule for anything,
Right.
uh, which, in the wild they don't either.
That's
So,
yeah. I
they
also
don't
don't feed on a
mind.
schedule. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not like, hey man, what are we
Yeah.
doing? It's
It's
time.
like a dog. You gotta eat them at 4 p.m. every day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, we
Yeah.
don't. I don't get barked at like I do
Yeah.
from the pups. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
But so as far as like the different stuff that I'll feed, I'm only doing that a handful of times a year. I'm not like, I feed primarily rodents and birds, but
okay.
every now and then I'll switch things up and throw a chicken neck in there or a frog leg or something like that. I do it more with the colubrids, honestly, just because their metabolisms are so much faster.
So, yeah.
Uh, and uh, it's also a little more cost effective. If I'm being completely honest, it's not. The reality of keeping animals is a financial burden to it too.
Yeah.
In any way you can stretch the feed bill, especially with how things have jumped up in the last year. It's always going
Yeah.
to help. So
Yeah. Yeah. So you do it like in the I did an episode with Justin. He mentioned frog legs, and he gets them. He puts the bag in the freezer, and he just pulls them out one by one. Do you do the same kind of thing? You
yeah,
get a bunch of them. Okay.
yeah.
And you think it's nutritionally beneficial, or is it just kind of like enrichment?
I think it's a little bit of both.
No.
Because you got to think a frog leg is going to be composed of different nutrients than a mouse will be or a bird will be. So I look at it like, I mean, we can't compare ourselves completely to them,
For
but
sure.
at the very basic, level, we're all organisms, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If we just ate the same thing over and over and over, we're not going to get, we benefit from eating variety. So that's my idea for doing that, to give them something else. And it's also enrichment too, because they got to figure out how to eat this new shape thing
New
and
shape.
different
Yeah.
smell and all that. And it just, to me, it seems like a win-win. Obviously, guys have fed mice and rats solely for decades, and
Yeah.
everything's been fine. So it's not an end-all, be-all. It's just another option that I've decided to take advantage of.
Yeah. No, that's definitely interesting. And do you find different I think you mentioned this actually. Do you find a different reaction to different smells or different prey
Oh yeah,
items? Yeah.
oh
Okay.
yeah, big
Yeah.
time. Colubrids love chicken stuff,
Okay.
like poultry and all that.
Okay.
Uh, Carpets usually do too, but I'll have some carpets that absolutely will not touch any of it. They just want rats.
It just won't.
Even a whole bird they won't touch. I'm like, oh, what's with
Interesting.
all these pictures of you guys eating parrots in
Ye-
Australia? Like,
Yeah.
come on. But
Seriously.
I had a pair of adult Japanese rats years
Okay.
ago, and whenever I'd feed them, they'd be there once they realized the food was there. They'd eat or
Come on.
whatever. If I
Yeah.
was thawing out chicken necks, chicken hearts, sometimes I did chicken wings. Uh, I'd open
And a
the
beer?
tub. Yeah, right. Yeah, beer for me. Yeah,
Beer for you.
beer for
Yeah.
me. Wings for
Look
them.
at them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I would open the tub and they would smell it before I'd open it, and holy crap! Just like you were saying, they would fly out, and they were just all about. I couldn't give them enough.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. It's like, okay, well maybe they're more bird eaters in the wild and stuff. But especially with that species, there's not too much out there on them. So
Just,
who
yeah, no
knows?
infinite
Maybe they are
diet.
primarily nest raiders and stuff. Well, they're rat snakes. They're gonna eat everything.
They're gonna eat, yeah, yeah.
But I did
Colubrids,
notice
colubrids.
I did notice a heavier response with that kind of stuff as opposed to the normal stuff I gave.
That's very interesting. Awesome. And then okay, so maybe on the topic of the rats, how
Mhm.
different is it to find? I've never kept colubrids. I have a carpet, but I've never kept colubrids. How different is it? Um, I've heard that with the feeding response, they're usually generally a lot better. Is there anything else that you find that's very different between keeping the two, like
The
colubrids versus pythons?
Yeah, their metabolisms
Yeah.
a lot faster. Uh, an issue that I personally have, and I've talked about this before, I have a Python mindset.
Okay.
So as
Yeah.
far as like feeding and stuff, so where people would get stuff up to breeding size in 2 to 3 years, I take 5 years because I don't hit them with as much food as a colubrid guy would.
Wait, right.
But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either, because maybe we do raise our stuff too
Too
quick.
fast.
Like maybe once a week or twice a week is, I don't know. That's a discussion
That's some
for
debate in itself.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
No,
whole
for
debate.
sure.
But
Yeah.
um, I'll just say I raise them slow. They seem to do well. They have good body tone, and um, I just have to clean them more.
You just have to
That's
be
the
more.
the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
That is.
I like so many different species. It's crazy. So I have a whole bunch. So I have a lot of different ones to pick from and see how they react and all the different nuances within the species and even subspecies. Because
Yeah.
I have 4 subspecies of beauty snakes,
Okay.
and you can definitely tell a difference between the four. They're not the same.
Is the like is it not visually obviously, but like they're
Yeah,
the Vietnamese, the Japanese.
yeah.
Is
So as far as
those
the
are the difference?
beauties,
Yeah.
uh, well, I mean, like as far as how they like behavior and feed response and handling them. Like I have Chinese beauties. They're very uh, they're very shy,
Yeah.
and when I get them out, they just want to go hide. They're not going
Okay.
to stand their ground, unless I corner them. They're not going to stand their ground. They're just, hey, I just want to not be here right now. Let me just
Yeah.
go to this corner.
Yeah.
The Ridley Eye, they are all about that life. They they will take
Right.
shots. They're
Right.
hey, you're in my space. We're not doing this.
And that's
Uh,
the same species? No.
so they're all Orthriopus, but then they're
Right.
different subspecies.
Different
So
species. Okay. Yeah.
think of Ridley Eye, Blue Beauties, Taiwans, and Chinese the same as you would think of coastals, jungles, IJs,
Okay.
Darwins.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, if that
All
makes sense.
Morelia, but okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense. Okay.
yeah, yeah, they're fun. I've always
Very
liked
cool.
beauties, so uh, the fact that I'm at a point where I can have the ones I've wanted forever and mess with them and
Which ones are the
just
ones you
see the
wanted
difference.
forever?
Honestly, gosh, I wanted all of them,
Yeah.
honestly, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely a collector. I
Yeah.
definitely have that mentality. I don't know if that's good or bad,
I
but
think most of us in the reptile hobby have that sort of
yeah.
collector's
Uh,
mentality. Yeah.
Eric Kohler actually, he made that comment one time when I met him, and he was like, first and foremost, I'm a collector first and a
Yeah.
breeder
I
second.
agree a second. Yeah.
And I didn't exactly get what he meant when he said it, but after I thought about it for a couple days, I was like, I see what he did there.
You're
And then
right. Yeah.
I thought about my collection. I'm like, oh yeah, I I
Guess
am
I'm a
a
collector.
collector.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's awesome.
um, I'd probably say I really like the Calico Chinese beauties.
Okay.
Those are probably the ones that I was the most happy about getting, because I just really like how that mutation, or that's the only beauty I have that's a morph of any sort.
Okay.
Uh, the wild types are awesome because you have like 3 different patterns on one snake, so you
Yes.
almost have a different look every part you look at the snake. But the calico gene, it's a color and pattern mutation, and it just completely obliterates everything
Everything. Yeah.
on it.
That's
They're
awesome.
just, yeah, it's they're really cool. Unfortunately, I had infertils from them this year, but hopefully next year I can figure them out.
Yeah, better
Yeah,
breeding year next year.
yeah, yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
got Ridley eye eggs this year, and they're due to
Okay,
hatch
nice.
at any point, so it's not a total loss.
Oh, there we go. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
How do you combat like the whole arboreal thing in your setup? Like how do you have your carpet set up?
I have them set up all different ways.
Okay.
Obviously raising them up, I keep them in racks and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, some of the smaller stuff I have in racks. And then I have some 4 foot cages with perches and all that. Um, just kind of do a little bit of everything, and
Do you feel like they eventually
they
get too big to be in a rack?
they can. So you can kind of, how do I say this? I've explained this at shows, and then people are like, "Oh, you don't feed your stuff," uh,
Yeah.
but you can
Slow
to a
down
point.
their
Yeah,
size.
you can
Or
control to a point how big they get. Uh, like I don't think I have a coastal over 7.5, 8 feet.
okay.
Uh, but, there's records of them getting 14 feet. But
Right.
there's a difference between max size and mature adult size.
Yeah. Or
Like
or or unhealthy size even and like
exactly, yeah.
yeah.
Like I always say, retics can get 30 feet, but
Yeah.
they'll breed at you know 12 to 14 feet. Doesn't mean that they have to get that big. So what I go more with my carpets is age, and then uh, they get a mature Morelia head. Like I'm sure yours still
So,
has that juvenile skinny head, right?
yes, it does. Yeah, and then I see the other ones, and you can see. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
exactly what you mean.
So
Yeah.
give him another year or two.
Okay.
Feed him good. Don't be scared to push him a little bit with food. Sometimes
Yeah.
the bigger prey items will help that mature head fill out too.
Okay.
Um, yeah, you'll see the difference. You'll look in one day and you're like, oh,
Oh,
that
you've grown
okay.
up.
Now I see it. Yeah, you're a man now. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's like the heavy triangle, more of a
yeah.
yeah.
That
No.
was that was one of the first characteristics that drew me to carpets.
Mm.
Was that mature head to the skinny neck. The arboreal look,
Like
pretty
yeah, no, for
much.
sure.
And
Yeah.
so you'll be surprised how small they can be and be mature and have viable clutches. And like I have animals that are 5, 6 years old that are barely on mediums.
Okay.
Like they don't have to be monsters.
Yeah.
That's it's the same thing. Like if we, as humans, if we eat a whole bunch and do all that, it just shortens our lifespan.
Yeah.
So I try to apply that with these guys too, and it's been working so far. I guess ask me in another 10 years, we'll see how it goes. But
Yeah.
you know,
So do you just sort of lessen their frequency of feeding?
yeah. I mean, it honestly depends on what their role is in the program. Uh,
Yeah.
Obviously,
Good way
males.
to put
Yeah,
it.
yeah. That sounded good. Sounded good in my
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Obviously, my males, I'll keep fairly small because they don't have to be that big to breed. And with the amount I have, it makes sense to not have monster males. I have a couple, and I bought them big. I didn't realize how big they were, but like I have a Balin tiger male that he could eat XL rats. And
Wow.
honestly, I think he's a lazy breeder. I tried to breed him this past year, and he was just
Nothing
more interested in eating than than anything
because he's so big.
because he's so big. So he
Yeah,
has
it makes
definitely been
sense.
on a diet. So he's slimmed
Okay.
down since I got
Okay.
him. But
Nice.
that. So, and of course my females that I want to get in the breeding program, I'll hit them a little heavier. But like I said, I don't have a schedule, so I'll go for adults. I'll go every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Uh, but then as it gets closer to the breeding season, when there's females that I definitely want to try to pair, I'm going to hit them at least once a week to just get more calories in them, get more fat on them because I don't really feed during the breeding season,
Okay.
and just to help get them through. And if they produce eggs, I mean that takes a lot out of them. So want them to have as much opportunity to bounce back as quickly as possible as I can. So,
Why don't you feed during breeding season?
uh,
Is
so
that
I
like a
don't.
common thing with snakes?
Eh, Everybody does it differently.
Okay.
Uh, I I can't say I don't completely feed. If I do, I might feed 2 or 3 times during the whole season.
Okay.
Maybe. Uh, but usually, it's if I think about it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me put them, take them apart, put food in front of them, see what happens. Some guys will pair them for a couple days, take them apart, feed them. They'll feed them every week during the whole
Okay.
breeding
Like
season.
normal. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to do it. There's I've bought into the rhythm of the room idea.
Okay.
So, the stuff I raise up in my room and they get the cycles and uh, all that. They kind of get with the program once they get to breeding size.
Okay.
So all I do in here, I don't have a climate controlled room or anything. It's just a room in my house. So my breeding season starts when it starts getting cooler out here, which I'm sure here in Florida is, you're probably laughing at the how
Getting
cold it
cooler.
gets
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Do you
it
have to
doesn't
turn
take
heaters
much.
on?
No, no, I
No.
don't. No, I just cracked the window in this room,
Oh,
and
okay.
it doesn't take much. 10 degrees maybe. IJs you don't even have to cool down, and just that season, the barometric pressure and the changes and all that. Just throw them together and they'll start breeding.
They're breeding
So
when it's cooler or when like after you're done cooling them?
the I have besides the Brettles, I have all winter breeders, so it's while it's cooler.
Very
So
interesting.
yeah, so it gets so I'll pretty much feed them like from this time all the way till about October or so, and that's when it starts cooling here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'll start putting them together. And as it gets cooler in the room, and storm systems come through, and pressures change, and all the triggers that they need, uh, they just start doing their thing, and then they're focused on that. And
That's very interesting.
usually I have a lot of eggs by now. So like last year I
Yeah.
killed it, and
Okay.
so I think that's what happens. You have your good year and bad year.
So you cool them and then like how long? Okay, so maybe we'll run through that. So like you're
Mhm,
pairing them like after they cool and like after October.
mhm.
And then when are you separating and when do you start seeing eggs? And then how long do the eggs take to hatch?
So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's
I'll go through
also
the whole
yeah.
thing. No, it's
Yeah.
good question.
Yeah.
So I'll keep them together. Obviously, I'll see locks. I'll log those, um, and you'll usually see an ovulation. Once I see an ovulation, they'll stop showing interest, and
In
sometimes
foods
they'll stop showing interest in everything, in
and everything.
breeding, and like
Okay.
because they'll cuddle a lot.
Okay.
They'll stop doing that. They won't want food. Um, So if I see an ovulation, I'll take the male out. A lot of times I don't see the ovulation, then I'll keep the male in until a prelay shed or something like that.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but usually you can tell after they ovulate, the weeks after that, like their bodies get this look to them that's like, oh, they're gravid. You
Okay,
can
yeah.
palpate. I try not to
Super.
palpate. Just one, I'm not good at it. Two, they're already super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like after you've done this a few seasons, you can just kind of look at them and tell, like, okay, you're gravid.
Yeah,
I'll
you got
see how
legs.
many eggs they lay when they lay them. I don't need to count the eggs before they,
Yeah. Yeah.
they lay them.
I'm
I know
not
some
that
guys
excited.
do, but yeah, like some guys do. That's awesome. I can wait the extra couple weeks and see the white gold, if you will, until
Yeah.
it comes
Yeah.
out. So,
Really is white gold.
oh yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So and that usually takes like a couple of months?
Yeah, the incubation's usually about 2 months or so, give or take.
Okay.
I've had most of my clutches have been between 56 and 62 days.
And what
At
temperature do you keep them at? Yeah.
I try to stay between 87, 88.
Awesome. Have you ever considered temperature sex determination and whether it affects them? Or I don't know if
Uh,
there's already known information out there or
not for pythons that I
not for
know
that.
of.
Okay.
If there is, I've been very male heavy on a lot of my clutches, so
Okay.
maybe there's something to
Maybe.
that,
Okay. Yeah.
but not that
Interesting.
I've heard of. Not on the python stuff.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting on the cooling thing. I do sort of the opposite. So when it's summer here, or I have the AC running and everything. So right now, everyone's cooling because I can get the house to the temperatures that I need to cool. And then
I
in
gotcha.
winter, the heater's on, so I can never get it cold enough. So that's when That's when I started preparing everyone and breeding. So it's like
I got
sort
you.
of the opposite. Yeah.
So
So
do you have to work for humidity a lot with your stuff,
I,
especially
I
when the heater's on and stuff?
pretty much, yeah. So I like, especially with the species I'm keeping, a lot of them like dart frogs, like a lot of them are tropical and like high humidity stuff. I have the misting running like almost double when the heater is on than when it's not.
See, that's something
Yeah.
that I take for granted being
The
down here.
humidity, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I hardly like spray anything. I
That's
just don't
crazy.
have to because our ambient humidity is,
High.
we're usually there. So
Yeah, it's like sitting around like 70, or is that too high? Yes.
no, that's more than what we're usually close to. Probably sways between 40 and 60.
60? Okay.
Like
Yeah,
in the room and stuff. Yeah.
I think it sits around 20 to 30 here in winter, something like that.
Yeah. So you got to work for it.
You go, yeah, it goes up in summer, but yeah, in winter you definitely do.
Yeah. Well, I
That's
think that's a reason too why I'm able to keep green trees like I said I do, just ambient, no heat, anything like that, because
right.
all the other elements of their care is pretty much perfect here,
Right.
for the most part. To where, if I was up north or something like that, I would have to put a lot more thought into my setups and how I'm keeping
Yeah.
them and all that. So
Especially.
that's
Do you
another thing to take into consideration with species that you get that um, like I do more tropical stuff because
mm,
like the Brettles are spring breeders, so they have to cool, brumate, if you will, and then they breed once it warms up,
okay.
which is the opposite of what I do. I've always had the issue of not being able to get stuff cold enough,
Right. Yeah.
so because I don't have a dedicated space or a wine cooler or anything like that. Um, so here I'm set up for more tropical stuff. So that's why, like, especially my colubrids and all that, I've gotten tropical colubrids that don't need to be cooled. And now they're getting up to size, and I'm not having any issues getting eggs because, I don't have to cool them. But the
There's
temperate stuff, that's why I haven't produced Chinese beauties yet because I haven't been able to get them cold enough. So it's a
and
work in progress.
when you open your window, it's just for winter, as you mentioned
Mhm.
earlier, it's not cold enough for the Brettles or the Beauties. It
Well,
doesn't cool enough.
it it does for the night, but even during the
For the
day,
day,
like it's the temperature will go down and then it goes up in
yeah.
the day. It goes down and it doesn't stay down like it needs to.
And they have to
Uh,
fully brumate to be able to breathe, I guess.
that's pretty much the only thing I haven't tried.
Okay,
So,
yeah,
but this
yeah,
year I was actually able to get the infertile eggs from the Chinese beauties, and that was a big win for me because
right.
I've had those things for 8 years now, and
Wow.
I to finally get something. And I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm
Yeah,
figuring out how to get them to work in my setup.
yeah.
So
Now you just gotta have,
this-
yeah, yeah, it's like baby steps, right? Every piece of the
yeah,
puzzle is coming
exactly.
together. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because
That's
last
very
year I
cool.
had infertils from the Ridley Eye, and I was like, okay, I think I some things I could have did better. I did that this year, and I got a fertile
You got
clutch.
a
So
photo. That's awesome.
so yeah,
Yeah,
it's
very
always
very cool.
learning, man.
Yeah, no, it's exactly that's very true. Um, so like the whole cooling and breeding side, the so is that one of the reasons you're not as focused on the Brettles, or you're not getting as lucky with them then, or you were saying earlier?
I have always shied away from them for that reason.
For that reason. So you're
Uh,
just not trying really.
yeah, yes and no. But I did try this year,
Okay.
and I said I have that female that's I think she's gonna drop any day. I'm hoping they're fertile.
Right, you say
Uh,
yeah.
so I we'll see. It's kind of still a work in progress. But if I get fertile eggs from that, and I figure out like my room here is upstairs, so I keep the
Okay.
cooler stuff downstairs,
Downstairs, yeah.
and it was just cooler during the winter down there than it was up here naturally. And if if this Brettle clutch works out, that's going to kind of open the door for a lot of stuff I've always talked myself out of because of that reason.
Yeah,
So
you figured it out.
we'll say that. Yeah.
Hopefully, hopefully, hopefully.
Yeah.
Also, have you ever considered keeping anything outside where you're at?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
have.
too much work.
If I was, I'd say it's too much work. Not any of the stuff I have already. I mean, I wouldn't mind like I thought about making like an outdoor cage and like something for enrichment, and I could take a couple carpets out and
Put them out
basically
there.
let them out in the jungle, get some UV, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, but if I was gonna do it completely, I was a lizard guy before I was a snake guy,
Okay.
and I really like semi-arboreal, semi-aquatic agamas. So
Okay.
your water dragons, basilisk, sailfin dragons are my favorite. Those
Okay.
things are
Yes.
there's not an ugly one. Those things are just
I
prehistoric looking dinosaurs. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
So I
That's
hope
the
one day I
touch on it
can.
again.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
All right. You're all
that's
right.
I yeah, the water semi-aquatic, semi-arboreal dragons,
Hmm.
the gommids, that's also where I'm moving towards. They are a beautiful, beautiful animal or
Yeah.
animals. Like,
I had a import male green water dragon for like 10 years.
wow.
Like when I was growing up, like middle school through high school
Yeah.
and all that. And I got him as a just a beat up. He was one of those males that had the colorful necks. And so he was already old by the time I got
Yeah.
him. And spikes missing and all that. And set him up in this real nice cage. I had live plants and I had a running fountain. Like I
That's
decked this
awesome.
thing out. And
Yeah.
he he stayed he stayed with me for like 10 years, and Lord knows how old he
Well,
actually
he already
was.
was. Yeah, exactly.
So it was just a really good experience, and uh, I got away from the lizards because they are more work, than
They
the
are a lot
snakes
more work.
are.
Yeah.
Uh, if I had the space and all that, I don't have the biggest backyard, and I'm in a normal neighborhood, so I also have neighbors to worry about.
Yes.
Uh, I'm hoping, I guess my 10-year plan, if you want to call it that, is to get a place with land and throw a building up. And, if I can do that, then yeah, I'll definitely do some stuff outside.
Get back into lizards.
Yeah. And back into insects. Yeah, that's the other,
Oh, were you
that's the
also
other part of it. Yeah.
cool? Were you keeping like insects as well, or just?
No, the feeders. I mean,
Oh, the okay, okay, okay.
yeah.
Cool. Yes, yes, yes.
And
Yeah,
here we
that's
can only
the
do,
downside. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, to have something that cool. But the cool thing with those is you can feed them so many different things.
Yes.
It's not like when I was just keeping lizards, I would just buy. We would get order of 1,000 crickets like every 2-3 weeks,
Yeah.
and that's just crickets
That
after
was it.
crickets after crickets. And
Yeah.
now I know how to breed super worms and mealworms, and
You guys have
uh,
dubias down there as well, right?
those are illegal here in
Oh,
Florida.
you guys well? Yeah,
So,
us too. Us too.
so we have to use. We can only get discoids.
Discoids. They just
Yeah.
legalized discoids here, like a
Oh,
couple
there
months
you go.
ago. Couple months ago. Okay.
They
Yeah.
breed, yeah, they breed pretty good. Orange, apparently. If you give them pieces of orange, it basically makes them breed like crazy. So,
Interesting.
yeah, thought
I
it was
wonder
too.
why, but okay. Yeah, that's.
I
We'll
didn't ask
try.
questions. I just, when I
Yeah, I
had some
just
stuff, I tried it,
threw it
and
in.
the colony boomed. So
Okay. Yeah, I haven't picked up a colony yet, but I'm looking forward to it and I'm gonna try oranges.
yeah, when you get the adults and stuff,
Yeah.
yeah, it works. Keep them warm and keep them fed, and they'll do their thing.
Yeah, because that comes back to variety as well, right? Like I'm also
Yeah,
always feeding
absolutely.
crickets and mealworms and whatnot. So
Hmm.
like getting something else in there is definitely beneficial.
I always liked supers more than mealworms. I know a lot of people are anti superworm. But if you breed them yourself, you get every size that you need, and their meat to exoskeleton ratio is so much better. It's not just
Interesting.
if you're worried about them, biting or whatever. Just you can
Ye-
take care of that before you feed them off. And
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I've heard these people say like the animals get bit from the inside using superworms. I've never had this experience. My
neither have
thing
I.
is mostly the size. So now that I don't know how I never thought of breeding them myself and getting smaller sized ones. That makes a lot of
Uh,
sense.
re- when we're all done,
Yeah.
and you get time someday, reach out to me. I'll show you how I did it here just for fun. I have a Pac-Man frog that I was breeding them for,
Okay.
and I just did it as like a little pet project thing, and I had thousands of them in like 2-3 months,
At different
and I was
sizes.
yeah, and I was breeding them in 32-ounce deli containers, like deli cups. Yeah,
Okay.
it was. Yeah,
Okay. I will definitely reach out to you, and
yeah, I
I'd like
got
to
you,
see
man.
that because that's very cool. Awesome. Okay. I think that's probably about everything I have
Okay.
today. So, first of all, thank you very, very much for coming on and sharing all
Thanks
that
for
awesome
having me.
information with us for sure. Hopefully we can do it again one day. Can you let
Anytime.
yeah, awesome. Can you let everyone know where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Uwabami Reptiles on Facebook and Instagram. I also have my website, uwabamireptiles.com, which thanks again for the compliments. That means the world. You have no idea.
I know
Um,
actually I was saying before, I don't know if I said this online or not, but it's definitely by far one of the best websites I've seen in the reptile hobby. So if you haven't gotten a chance, definitely go check it out.
well, I appreciate that.
For sure. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think that's it. I have a YouTube channel. I haven't posted in a while. I've been toying with the idea of getting back into it. I want to. I just haven't. So hopefully I'll get back in the swing of that. And people want to listen to me ramble more. That'll be another spot to do it. So
Sweet. Yeah, and I'll have all of those links in the show notes. And thank you for saying your name because I was trying to figure out how to pronounce it before the episode. So is it? So do you say the W?
yeah, it's
Uwa-
Uwabami.
Uwabami. Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay, awesome. Once again, thank you very much for coming on. I will have all of your links in the show notes below. Um, thank you for teaching us about pythons. Also,
no
everyone else,
problem.
go check out Billy's channel or Billy's social medias and website and everything else. Um, I am Daffy's Reptiles on all social medias. Daffy's Roundtable for the podcast. Thank you all very much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.